100% believe that I will be a billionaire. You call that a punishment, you call that adversity, I call that an opportunity. How do you look at everything? How do you look at it? That's the question. How are you looking at it? Because what is adversity? What if you knew adversity sharpened you and strengthened you? Is it now something bad? Is adversity bad? No, we would be looking for adversity. We'd be seeking adversity. Why? Because we know that adversity strengthens us and no adversity weakens us. So at the end of the day, is adversity a bad thing? How do you look at it? That's the question. How do you look at it? What's your perspective? Poison oak was apparently part of the job. Every time we needed money, money showed up. Whether I went out and got it, because I knocked on doors. Like as soon as I had money problems, you don't have money problems, you got knocking problems. I believe, again, it is possible to build a company, because I've done it, without dedicating 100% of your freaking attention to it. I don't want to be the guy that dies with an 8-pack abs and never had a piece of cake, but he had an 8-pack, and he died concerned about the way he looks. Why? So everybody else thinks he's cool.
Welcome back, everybody, to Turning Your Adversity into an Asset podcast. Today we've got Brad Lea, and I have got a little introduction from him. So Brad Lea is the CEO and founder of LightSpeed VT, which is a multi-million-dollar global tech company that he started from scratch. And you may have also seen Brad or heard him on his podcast, which is definitely one of the top-rated podcasts over in the States, which is called Dropping Bombs, which I've been listening to for quite a few years now. And he's also the author of a best-selling book, which is called The Hard Way. And Brad's helped a lot of big hitters such as Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Grant Cardone, and many more. So that was a little intro, but that's some of the things you've done. But I'm looking forward to diving in a little bit deeper, and also sort of how you got there, because I've been doing a bit of research, and it wasn't exactly like an overnight success for you, was it? I mean, you've started from scratch, and you know what it's like to build a business, and all the sort of hardship that comes with that, and you know what it's like to start with nothing. So, I mean, I know it's a little bit cliche, but I'd love to start at the beginning, if you don't mind, and sort of where it all started for you, and where you sort of, your upbringing. How did it start there?
Oh, that's going way back, my friend.
Yeah.
I was born to a blue collar family, 5 brothers and sisters. 4, I'm the 5th one. We had a whole slew of half siblings as well, another 4, I believe, but 5 full brothers and sisters that went and lived with my dad. Blue collar, kind of children should be seen and not heard, but in my memory is, see, this is the funny thing, because when you said turning adversity into assets, a lot of people always ask me, talk about your adversity. People like hearing about it. At the end of the day, I don't really acknowledge it as adversity. That's I think ultimately when I die and look back, that will have been my gift.
Yeah.
I don't see it as adversity. Like, my childhood wasn't that bad at all. I got kicked out of my house when I was 16 because I didn't mow my lawn. My dad told me to mow my lawn and I didn't. And so I said I forgot, and he kicked me out. That was that. So like everyone's like, oh, that must have been tough. That was adversity. I was excited. You kidding me? I don't have any more parental supervision. I can do what I want. You're kicking me out? No, you're letting me go is what you're doing. You're allowing me to leave and not have to ask permission for anything again. You call that a punishment. You call that adversity. I call that an opportunity. So again, how do you look at everything? How do you look at it? That's the question. How are you looking at it? Because what is adversity? What if you knew adversity sharpened you and strengthened you? Is it now something bad? Is adversity bad? No, we would be looking for adversity. We'd be seeking adversity. Why? Because we know that adversity strengthens us and no adversity weakens us. So at the end of the day, is adversity a bad thing? How do you look at it? That's the question. How do you look at it? What's your perspective? So my perspective has always been, opportunistic and optimistic. So like, I was always looking for opportunities, and I was always optimistic about them. And so now when I think back, especially in shows like this, where you focus on people's past and how they, came through it all and still succeeded, I wish I could be like, man, I tell you, I used to have to walk uphill in the snow both ways, and just to go to school, and we didn't have shoes. And I had holes in my shoes, and the snow would get into my shoes and freeze my toes. And so when I got to school, my toes were basically frozen most of the day. And then the only thing I had to keep my hands warm on the way was a baked potato. And then when I got there, that was my lunch. So I ate the potato for lunch. but we came through. I don't think like that. My childhood, dude, I had fun. I ran around the woods. I had pine cone fights. I played cops and robbers, cowboys and Indians. We went outside. We came home at dark. Mom had fucking food on the table. I didn't realize that we were blue collar and anything. I just thought we were normal. So again, even when I look back, we are normal. Most people are like this. The very few get raised with money and privilege. Did you get raised with money and privilege?
No.
See, what was your adversity? Looks like you made it.
Well, yeah, you need to get me on your podcast for that. Interesting story, actually. And this is something you won't remember. But when I was first starting out my business around 6 years ago now, probably, I reached out to you on Facebook. And since the messages have been deleted, I don't know why every now and again they clear them. I've tried to find the old messages, not there anymore. And I said, look, this is my story. Can I come on your podcast? And I was nobody, not saying I'm anyone special now, but a little bit more authoritative than I was back then. I had nothing to really show apart from my story then. But I shared my story in a paragraph with you. And I said, can I come on your podcast? And you went, sure, fly out to Las Vegas, do it live and we can do it. I was like, oh my God, give me your email address to your, I name now, I could tell you her name. But anyway, your PA, spoke to her, and then I couldn't get into America because I've got a criminal record and I cannot get in. I'm even married to an American woman now, and I still can't get in. Long story. But anyway, that was one of the opportunities I missed. But yeah, you actually invited me on your podcast. And I don't know why, because I wouldn't have been the same caliber of the guests you were having on. But yeah, I have got a story.
Back in the day, brother, it was if you had information and we could shoot the shit, I was putting them up.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And that would have been a good opportunity, but hopefully that will come around. But it's already come full circle. I mean, I'm really glad that you're even on my podcast, and maybe one day I'm still working on the visa to get into the Miami, where my wife is actually from. So when I do get over to the States, hopefully I can come and share your story. But my background is the holding of the potato. It couldn't have really got much worse than mine. Well, I won't go into my story actually, because it will take fucking ages. But yeah, I had a bit of a traumatic experience in pretty much every single way you can possibly think of. And I do have one of those sort of rags to riches kind of cliche stories. But I love what you say there in terms of a perspective. And that's why exactly that. It's not adversity if you see it as an asset. And but the thing is, we know that 99.9% of people do not see it that way. And even if they do, they most likely are going to see it much longer after they've experienced that period of adversity where they didn't feel like they could find a way out. And it was only when they became successful and they could actually look back and go, well, it doesn't have to be success, but they've had that perspective shift, that paradigm moment. They realize that things were actually always happening for them rather than to them. And they can look back and go, and actually, I'm really grateful those things happened, and it shaped me, and it's given me this driver and, this compelling, want for more. And, so I think it is rare to have that mindset. It's not every day that people can just go, well, I'm grateful for those moments when they're in it. And also it's a perspective as well about what adversity is, because like something that I've read about you as well. I mean, not that this is like the worst thing that could ever happen to someone in the world, but there was a time where you was a car salesman, right? If I got my information is correct. So I'm not saying that's adversity, but if you compare that to the 8-figure CEO guy you are now, it's quite humble beginnings, I would say. And there's probably times where you didn't I'm putting words in your mouth here now, but there's probably times where you didn't like your boss, you didn't like your job, you wanted more from life. And can you tell me maybe a little bit about that? Has there been times where you're a little bit frustrated with
100%. Like, again, I mean, I've been through a lot of jobs when I was a W-2 employee working for other people. And, there's nothing wrong with working for other people. You have to do it, in my opinion, unless you're handed something. Nobody handed me anything. I got kicked out of school when I was 16, or not school, my house. So I quit school because I didn't, feel like I needed to go.
Here's the story. Look, the story's coming out. I knew it'd be there somewhere. You got a little baked potato story. Must.
Yeah, I mean, so basically I just hung out with my friends and slept on couches and, picked up girls and slept on their couches and stuff like this. But I survived. It was easy, at the end of the day, I was just hanging out with friends and, couch surfing is what it was called. So, I ran around trying to get, various odd jobs as a kid. Now I'm 16, around 17 years old, almost 18 is when I got into selling cars, like right before. And right before that, I finally caved in and everyone told me to go get a real job. So I'm like, okay, well, like what's a real job, like at the mill, pulling green chain, up in the mountains with loggers, you got to do something that like, you got to work and they're paying you, good money. So I went and applied at the Forest Service, and I got a job with the Forest Service, what I thought was fighting forest fires, because sometimes there'd be forest fires. I'm from the Pacific Northwest, where it's all big ass trees all everywhere. So I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool. That'd make me feel like a stud. I'm running around telling everyone in town that I'm going to be a firefighter. I got a job as a firefighter, and I'm, bragging to all the ladies, and I'm picturing myself with the axe over my shoulder and a freaking big old wolf by my side, and freaking, I'm like some badass firefighter out there saving eagle eggs. But, that's not what happened. I showed up the first day. They give me this big old black rubber bag of water, and they told me to put it on my back. It was like a black rubber backpack filled with water, and it was probably 50 pounds of water, big old heavy backpack filled with this water and a nozzle. And my job was to go find stumps that were smoldering and embers and squirt them with this water. And I'd go up and down the mountainside looking for smoldering stumps, squirting them, and then come back down and fill it up with water and go up and down the mountain again all day, just squirting stumps. Like that was my firefighter deal. And so it was called a piss bag. I was the piss bag operator. So imagine, being excited, telling everybody you're going to be a firefighter, and you show up and you're a piss bag operator. Mm-hmm. So I didn't like that at all. Well,
how did that make you feel?
I didn't like it at all, dude. It's hard labor. I mean, I was thinking, what kind of shit is this? Like, who the hell, if this is a real job, I'm not sure I want one. Like, God, you had to get up early as hell. You had to go out in the right up to the mountains. You had to smell, smoke and ash, and, get poked in the eye, and, poison oak. A couple days after I started, I got poison oak. So I go into the guy and I'm like, listen, I got a big patch of poison oak right here. And I look, and there's about, a little patch of poison oak on my inside elbow, like, where it was starting. I could tell it was going to spread a little bit. So I'm like, well, I need to stay home. I'm not going to be able to come in for a little bit because of my poison oak. The dude opened his shirt, man, and his whole entire body was covered with like scabs and poison oak. It even went up to his earlobe. He had poison oak all up his neck. Like, poison oak was apparently part of the job. He said, buddy, you're going to get poison oak. You're not going to, not come in because you got poison oak. Just put some calamine lotion on it and go back to work. Mm-hmm. And I said, are you out of your effing mind? And I literally quit on the spot. Went down. Everyone was going to be disappointed. I quit my real job. Everyone was so excited because I got this job. I got a real job. And then found out that, I didn't want that job real quick. Why? Because listen, I don't care what everybody else thinks. I'm not happy up in the morning early, smoke in my eyes. Like, this is hard ass labor. And I realized that the people doing the hard ass labor weren't making all the money. The people that were making the money were paying all the hard ass people to do the labor. The real money was being paid to someone who was paying me. So I had to figure out, how do I get to be the dude paying all the laborers? Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? I don't want to be a laborer. The laborers are like, hey, I'm at $22 an hour. I get prevailing wage on overtime and yak. I wasn't thinking any bigger. And so when I went there, I didn't like the job. And then I started to realize, wait a minute, I can make more money outside the car, or outside the realm of hard manual labor, because I got a job selling cars. And when I went in there, I lied, said I was 18, even though I was only a few months away from it. Went in there and I made like freaking $6,000 my first month. And I guarantee I was only a couple of weeks into it. I told everybody basically on the sales team that I was actually only 17. You had to be 18 to work here. GM calls me in. He says, how old did you say you were on your birth certificate? On your credit or your app? I said, 18. He said, how old are you? And he looked at me like he already knew the answer, and I already felt like he knew the answer. So I said, well, I'm 17, almost 18. I turn 18 in about a month or whatever. Or I say something to that effect. And he says, how many cars you got out? And he looks up at the board. I'm crushing every other salesman. He said, your birthday's when? I said, about a month and a half. He goes, can you keep your mouth shut that long? I said, yes, sir. He said, get out there and sell some cars. Keep your mouth shut. Because he knew even though that's the rule, I'm already registered. Nobody knows. There's no inspectors coming around to businesses making sure people are actually 18. And it just told me, man, I like that. The rules were bent for me, made me feel good. Whenever the rules get bent for you, you feel good. You go to a restaurant where it's full, but they'll bring you a table out. They'll clear a table for you. they're bending the rules. People feel special. So I felt special. I was making more money than anybody that was up at that camp busting their ass. I was making way more money than most of the people in my family. Then they gave me a car to drive for free. They're like, go pick a car. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, salesmen get demos. They're called demonstrators. So you basically get a car to drive till it has 3,000 miles on it. Then you park it or you sell it while you're driving it to your friends and your family. But it's your car. You drive it around just like it's yours. I'm like, are you kidding me, guys? This place wants you to have a Trans Am. This place wants you to have Poison Oak.
Mm.
Like, is this adversity? No, the job I had was adversity. That's adversity, my friends. Fighting forest fires or operating a piss bag, because I wasn't fighting forest fires. I was operating a piss bag. I was getting freaking Poison Oak. That's adversity. And I quit. I quit adversity. Real adversity. To me, that's real adversity. People say, Brad, that makes you a coward if you're quitting real, makes you weak, sometimes it makes you smart. Okay. Depends on the kind of adversity you're looking at and how you look at it. I look at that as adversity, and I'll quit adversity in that regard. Why? Because I'm not headed towards a menial manual labor job my whole life. No way. Not when I can go make money with my mouth. My mouthpiece, brother. I turned this thing from a BB gun into an Uzi, as my boy Steve Stevens likes to say. Okay.
So I've got a question for you. So you were only 17, 18 at this point. Most people, that age, anywhere in the world, don't really have much motivation. They're probably going to be living at home for another 5 years, probably maybe studying or having odd jobs here, there, don't really have much drive. Do you think the drive to go and get that job, to exceed those sales targets, came from a place of ambition, or do you think it came from not desperation, but like a necessity? Because at that point, you were independent, I guess. Where did that drive come from to want more, to jump those ladders so quickly on? Because that's, again, by the sounds of it, turning adversity into an asset, isn't it? Yeah, you got kicked out. It might not have affected you in a really negative way, mentally or emotionally, but it's still, hang on a minute, I need to sort myself out and provide for myself now. And you got two decisions. You either sit there in that state of, oh fuck, why is it happening to me? Or you go, well, okay, I'm going to build something for myself and work my way up the ladder, which looks like you've managed to do. So yeah, I've threw quite a few words at you there, but yeah, where was that place coming from? Was it ambition or was it a necessity?
Both. It was both. I mean, I was kicked out at 16. So I need some money. Number one.
Yeah.
I knew that you got money by working. My dad definitely taught me that. If you wanted money, you had to work for it. So, I put two and two together. I need money. I'm going to go get a real job so I can get some real money. I didn't understand that there was other opportunities out there. My whole family's blue collar. I thought that's what you do. So once I went and did it, I'm like, dude, this is not me. How did I know? Dude, who wants to freaking bust their ass all day getting poked in the face and get Poison Oak all for, what was I making? Let's say $20 an hour. $20 an hour back then was almost like, 50 or 60 bucks. I mean, it was a good, decent paycheck. Everyone was like, wow, you got that job? So like people really, thought I got lucky, maybe in 5 years you can be supervisor, what do they call it? I forget what they call it out there. Whatever they call it.
Same thing. Yeah.
A foreman. Okay. You can be foreman. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I couldn't get past a week. Like, I don't want to be foreman. Are you out of your damn mind? I quit. So I went and sold cars, realized that you can make a bunch of money in a suit, smelling like cologne, talking to all kinds of people if you just smile and be nice and, learn what you're doing. And so I learned sales extremely well. And for the next, 15 years or so, I was selling everything from RVs to cars to artwork to everything. Like I was a sales pro. And then I started running car dealerships. And then I got to a point where now it's either buy a car dealership or just work at one for the rest of my life, which again was not bad. I was making $500-600 grand a year, maybe 400 in some cases. I don't know, but it seemed like, $400 or $500 grand a year. All salesmen exaggerate. So it was probably 350.
Yeah. But for a job, that's like got to be in the top 1%, if not.
Yeah, no, I had tons of money. But the problem was I didn't have any time. And dude, listen, let me tell you something. If I told you I'll give you $1 billion, but I'll keep you busy 100% of the time and you can never, ever enjoy it, it's worthless. Mm-hmm. So people got to realize, yes, you got to spend some time to get some money. But once you get some money, now you got to spend some money to get some time.
Yeah.
And most people don't get that. Now, I inherently understood that I cannot continuously, work bell to bell every day, 7 days a week, and I didn't really like it. So I was getting a little burnout. Then there was a guy in the back that was a lot porter, minimum wage guy. We got to talking. He's a cool dude. I saw his family come in now and again. He was just a nice, humble dude. So I said, hey, why don't you come up here? Let me teach you how to sell. So he didn't think he could. So I ended up teaching him how to sell. I used to teach everybody how to sell. Back in the day, man, I used to snatch people out of Burger King windows, teach them how to sell, and they'd go from minimum wage to 10, 15 grand a month, every single month. So I was good at training people. So I took this kid and I brought him up and I trained him. In 3 months, he was making 10, 15 grand a month. His whole life changed. I watched his wife get happier, his kids get happier. Like, dude, money made a big impact in that man's life, and it didn't make him a big piece of shit. It actually made him a nicer person. He started giving to his church. He was happier every day. So it was a positive effect on him. And I thought, man, I've got the power to show people how to make money. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to train people how to make money. So I quit my job. I was 30 years old and I started LightSpeed VT, which is my main company. Now I've got multiple companies, but that's only because, I built a personal brand, built a big old company, and now it's easy to start and acquire companies. But back in those days, this was my only company, and that's how I started it. I quit my job so I could go help other people make money, because I saw how it did for them.
And how did you start?
And I was getting tired of working for someone else. I didn't like being told that I had to work on Saturday from open to close, and it wasn't an option. Like, my wife wants to go out on a date, take her out another day. Like, I worked all the time. I was probably putting 60, 70 hours a week in. And by the way, people say, well, you do that when you work for yourself. You can do it when you work for yourself, but when you do it working for yourself, it feels different.
And you get to choose as well, right?
You get to choose. I would have took a Saturday off sometimes.
So how did you get started then? What was the first couple of steps that you took to get that business off the ground?
Like, I just started knocking on doors and making phone calls and seeing if they wanted to buy my training.
Wow, old school. I don't even know what a business world looks like in that day and age, because I'm
just get rid of social media and cell phones.
Yeah,
and that's what it looked like.
I don't know how people did it back then, to be honest with you. And I see now as well. I looked at your website. Is that building in your promo video your office?
Yeah,
that is. It looks like a mansion. I mean, bigger. So this is not old school. I guess it is now, but this is proper business, not just like an online. You got like an academy. You got a real business.
We call them brick and mortar.
Yeah. So that's interesting, because I've got a business training company as well, different, all online. All my team were remote working, never had an office, never met most of them, completely different world. So what was it like in those early days? Was there any difficult times where you wanted to give it in? Was it a quick success? Was it, times where it was hard to pay the bills? I mean, knocking doors and making
of course.
Surely that must have been.
100%. There was times I couldn't make payroll. What was weird is no matter what, it always worked out. I remember one time I needed $71,000 to cover payroll. And I didn't have $71,000. We had about $1,500 in the bank, and payroll was about a week and a half away. And I said, oh my God, what are we going to do? So I started hustling. I went around, started, trying to sell, trying to close, trying to freaking do business. And it always seemed to freaking work. Like, I owed $71,000 for payroll. I went around, tried to get a deal, couldn't get a deal. It was like freaking 4 days before payroll. I'm starting to get a little bit panicked, but the phone rings. I pick it up. It's someone from before, a long time ago, a be-back. It's somebody that I had in my pipeline, but I stopped following up with, coincidentally saying, hey, I'm ready to get going, yada, yada, yada. We want to do this, we want to do that. And I'm like, okay, great. And I'm like, tally up. Okay, that'll be $74,000. And they're like, all right, we'll just send you a check tomorrow and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm telling you, every time we needed money showed up. Whether I went out and got it, because I knocked on doors. Like, as soon as I had money problems, you don't have money problems, you got knocking problems, you got contact problems. See what I'm saying? Any business that's out there that has problems, more than likely, it's sales problems. It's not business problems. You don't have enough money. If everyone had more money, they could hire better people, put in more processes, leverage software, et cetera, et cetera. When they don't have money and it's a startup like mine was, dude, you didn't have the luxury of doing whatever you wanted. So anyway,
well,
I can tell you a lot about business, but I still don't think that's adversity, dude. I think that was, problem solving.
Mm.
And again, I mean, someone could sit back and be like, well, Brad, I mean, by definition, it's adversity. Yes, it is. I suppose it is. But again, I don't like to acknowledge it as adversity. I like to acknowledge it as challenges. I like to, I'm just a positive person. I don't want to think, because when I think adversity, it's going against, like adversity, it's pushing against you. I don't think anything was pushing against me, just nothing was propelling me, including
Mm.
myself. So I
Mm.
had to find some sort of internal motivation. And quite frankly, when you enjoy smelling the roses, like people say, slow down, smell the roses. Successful people will tell you you can't slow down to smell the roses. I believe, again, it is possible to build a company, because I've done it, without dedicating 100% of your freaking attention to it.
Mm.
Like I built LightSpeed with 85, 90% attention. I still slacked. I still took days off. Now, could I have built it faster? Probably, if I were obsessed. Could I have built it bigger? Probably, if I were obsessed. But I haven't been obsessed, and I've enjoyed the last 20 years. I could have been miserable for the last 20 years, bald, okay, wrinkles all over my face, 5 ex-wives, right? Kids that can't stand me. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that a success? And all the money in the bank. That's not a success. Not in my book. Like, that's not successful. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy that dies with an 8-pack abs and never had a piece of cake, but he had an 8-pack, and he died concerned about the way he looks. Why? So everybody else thinks he's cool. Now, why am I on the way to get a 6-pack? Well, because I want to be in top physical form. Well, maybe they wanted to be in top physical form. Maybe. But again, most people with an 8-pack of abs are sacrificing shit you don't realize. They're not just naturally gifted. They are saying no to the cake and the dressing and the freaking muffins and the cupcakes and the popsicles and the ice creams and the frozen yogurts and the cookies and the pizzas and the Five Guys burgers and fries. They're saying no to these things. That's how they look like that. Sacrifice. They sacrificed. Now, would you want to be a guy that sacrificed your entire life and then died? Or would you rather be a guy that sacrificed most his life but enjoyed the fuck out of it?
Mm. And do you say, do you enjoy it? Because obviously now, you're successful, 8-figure business, but you're still going. You're still
100%,
doing
because
podcasts,
my goal
still
is
working.
10-figure.
Where is it now? Where's the motivation and the ambition to continue?
My motivation is I'm not where I need to be. I need to have a net worth of $1 billion.
Interesting. Isn't that the same as needing an 8-pack though?
No, maybe, but no, I don't think so.
So
if your 8-pack is a goal, you get your 8-pack, and then eventually you don't have it anymore. Why? Because your goal was to get one. Your goal wasn't to keep one. So if someone got an 8-pack, took a bunch of pictures, looked awesome for the summer, and then kind of went back to 12, 13% body fat and stayed there his whole life, versus the guy that did everything he had to do to stay at 6%. The guy at 6%, number one, I guarantee, is not as healthy as the guy at 12%. He looks a little bit better at the pool, but he's sacrificing a lot. I would rather be the guy that looks pretty good at the pool, right? Pretty damn good, and he's enjoying life.
Do you think you get to the billion with the pretty good and the 85%?
I 100% do. And again, I mean, I 100% believe that I will be a billionaire in the next 5-10 years.
And when you get there, what would that give you?
It would give me a sense of accomplishment. Now I can feel good about myself. Now I will admit that I accomplished something. Because right now, dude, listen, everybody below me says, oh, look what he's done. He's so great. But everybody above me goes, where'd you fuck up, bro?
Was there ever a time though where you looked at, if I had an 8-figure business, I would be accomplished and I would be where I want to be?
I said, if I just have $1 million business, a 7-figure business, I used to think that when I was making $1 million a year, dude, I would be the happiest guy on planet Earth, and nothing would be able to freaking get in my way, and I could have anything I wanted. I just didn't realize that $1 million wouldn't get you that.
What about when you get to $1 billion and then all your friends have got 10 billion?
I don't care about them. If someone's always going to have more, I don't compare myself to everybody else. I compare myself with myself, and I know I can reach $1 billion. Number one, it starts with a B. My name starts with a B. I think you're 10 times cooler when you're a billionaire than a millionaire. Like when someone says, "Oh, Brad Lea, millionaire." First of all, I think that sounds pretentious. Like, dude, you don't need to freaking announce that you're a millionaire. First of all, I'm a multi-billionaire. Second of all, I think it's pretentious saying, multi-millionaire. Billionaire? Oh, that ain't pretentious. That's fucking cool. I wonder how many billionaires there are in the United States or just in the world. Alexa, how many billionaires are in the United States?
I know about 563 American billionaires.
Only 563 out of 300 million people plus are billionaires. Dude, that's the new millionaire. Billionaire is the new millionaire. See, I was young and I thought a millionaire is all I needed to be, and I could have this lavish life and private jets and Ferraris. I didn't even know about private jets back then, but as soon as I make $1 million, I can have anything I want in life. I didn't realize, number one, it would take so long. Number two, that's not really a lot. And it wasn't really back then either. It was very comfortable, but it wasn't a lot. And it's still not a lot. It's especially not a lot now. Now, if you have $10 million, that's like the new million. You know, you got to have 10 million. That's like the new million. And that's still not a lot. So now you got to get to 100 million. And now you're really starting to enter into that wealth category. Because with $100 million, you can get an annualized return, again, across the board average, 10-15%. People say, where do you get that? Dude, if you guys don't know how to get 10 or 15% on your money, you're just new. That's all. Okay. It's very possible. The S&P averages 10% over a period of time. So you just dump all your money in the S&P, it'll pay you 10% on average over a period of time. So if you have $100 million and you have it intelligently invested, okay, and you're getting 10%, you're making $10 million a year without getting out of bed. Your assets continue to produce your income and your lifestyle. And $10 million is a lot of money to live a unbelievable life. Now, I want $1 billion because I want that 100 million position, and I want to be able to financially bless others. Like, in other words, a lot of times people want to give you advice. I'd rather give you a check. Sometimes people like, well, let me tell you something, son. You know, you don't want to never do this. Now I'm going to let you sink so you can learn your lesson. You know, I want to teach them a lesson and then give them some money. Why? Because, dude, money changes lives.
And so one other thing is, you mentioned a lot about money there. What about legacy and stuff like that? Because obviously you built this company, you know, from scratch. I should imagine it means.
What does legacy even mean?
Well, something that
if you look up the word legacy, it's going to tell you that it's, you know, some sort of endowment, some sort of, you know, inheritance, like business. Like real estate and money. Like, you know, that's what a legacy.
Yeah, something you can leave and be remembered by. Like, say, for example.
Yeah, like real estate and money.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. If someone offered to buy your company for $1 billion, but you would have no involvement, your personal brand would be gone, and you'd have nothing.
Listen, pay attention, kids. This is the smart thing right here. How would my personal brand be gone?
Well, it's just a hypothetical question here.
I know, but make it realistic. That's
because you're saying it's all about
my
money,
personal brand would blow up.
Yeah, but you're saying you want to get to $1 billion, and then you'll be accomplished, and then you'll be kind of happy, and then that's all you need, that money. But there is also more than that, of course. As you know, there's the pride of your business. There's something you could maybe pass on to family. There's something that would, you know, keep you stimulated. So would you swap?
I have no ego. Like, dude, listen, someone offered me $1 billion for LightSpeed VT, I'll sign it. If they said you'll never be, you know, involved with it again, no one will ever know that you started it and that you founded it. No one will know anything, but you'll have $1 billion. Give me the $1 billion. I'll be just fine. But when you said your personal brand is gone, no, it wouldn't be. That's where you're dead wrong. My personal.
What about if it was part of the contract that they wanted that to be closed as well? They wanted you to be.
I would, you know, again, I mean, if I had $1 billion, I'd probably be ready to retire. So you can have it. But I mean, it depends on what that meant. Because again, I wouldn't need it. I wouldn't need it anymore. In other words, right now, a personal brand is so valuable, you can't even imagine. I can literally kickstart a company, create a 7-figure company inside of 90 days, anytime I want to, with a personal brand. You know, with millions of followers, I can get like businesses jump started that would normally take normal startup entrepreneurs years, and I can skip the line just because of followers and fandom. Like, you want to build a personal brand, you want to build a community. Well, you already know I'm preaching to the choir, but like that community, again, like if you, like in your community, if you said, hey, I'm going to bring, you know, Brad Lea and Gary Vee and, you know, Tony Robbins and, you know, whoever's, you know, popular over there into an arena. You tell your people, you probably get 1,000 people buying a ticket right now for $1,000. Well, you just raised $1 million in 5 seconds from that audience. What if you didn't have an audience and you wanted to go try that? Dude, it's a much harder thing. So my personal brand, dude, extremely valuable, but it would not be gone. If I sold my company's gone. My
Mm.
personal brand stays with me.
I'm just curious to know if there's any other drivers just other than the money, because I think people listening would want to tap into this, source of ambition, and it's not everybody's money driven. Some people, I'll give you an example. For me, I like the limelight. I don't mind admitting that. Like, I like to be on stage.
So you'd rather be famous and broke than unknown and rich?
I'd like both, to be fair. Well, I'd like to be famous.
But if you had to pick one,
if I had to pick one,
famous and broke or unknown and extremely wealthy,
I'd have to really think about that one, because it taps into money. Is huge.
You can think all you want. The answer, if you tell the truth, is going to be unknown and wealthy as hell.
I don't know.
Everybody wants to claim money ain't their driver when money's their driver.
I like money. I want money, but money can give me and make me feel, it's like.
Depends on, again, how you look at it, bro. Money would make me 1,000 times more capable, 1,000 times more like I already am. Money magnifies you.
But it was
so
like
if I had even more money, I would help more people. Like, I already help people. It's just not to the degree I would substantiate as wow. Like, I want to be able to help people, and a lot of people. I want to be able to pay people's homes off, which I can do now, but it's like pretty soon and my shit will run out, I'm sure. Like, I'm not there yet. A lot of people, by the way, assume that I'm already a billionaire. I get people coming in here thinking, wow, look at this place. You must be a billionaire. I'm not a billionaire. I've got a long ways to becoming a billionaire. I'm not even a freaking 100 millionaire yet. Now, again, if I sold everything I owned, I might be right about there, right? If I sold everything I owned.
Technically, a billion, you can define your net worth as your assets minus your liabilities. So you don't have to have it in cash or anything.
Yeah, anyway. But how valuable is an asset?
How much someone's willing to pay for it, I guess.
Exactly. So if I said I want to sell my company right now, I could say I want 100 million for it, and find out someone's only willing to pay 40 million for it. Oh, well, then I guess my company's not worth 100 million, is it? It was worth 40. So that's the thing. I don't know until I sell. And I do know that normal business equations tell me that in my industry, I could get 12 to 20 times EBITDA pretty easily. So I know what my EBITDA is. And I know that if I really want to knock it out of the park, I need to 4 or 5x my revenues. So that's the mission I'm on over the next 3 or 4 years. And I'm pretty sure that LightSpeed alone, and I have multiple companies, LightSpeed alone could probably get me to the $1 billion mark. Now, keep in mind, I won't keep $1 billion. I have a partner in it. He's going to get a chunk. IRS is going to get a chunk, then I'll get the rest, which is not going to be $1 billion. And I won't care. I don't need $1 billion. I need to say that I built $1 billion organization.
Well, that's the thing. See, that's why. Is it the money, or is it what the money makes you feel? Because for me, like, I would like, the same way I like the attention. I would like to be in movies, and actually, I think I read something about you that you may have. Did you want to be an actor at one point?
Yes.
Okay, we'll dive into that in a second. But so there's these underlying factors that drive. I know for me for sure, and money is a thing. Like, I want money, but it for example, if I become a crypto billionaire, right? I wouldn't give a shit. That's the honest truth. Like, I would just be like, so what? You wouldn't get a sense of accomplishment from that. There's a difference between earning it and knowing that you created something and like, yes, I did that, I'm successful. And that's because it makes me feel significant. And significance, I know, stems back from wanting to be loved. And we're going to get real deep. It's just daddy issues. That's what it is. It's like, daddy love me, and then so that's what the real driver is. It's much deeper than what a lot of people think.
Yeah, mine might be the same thing. I mean, maybe that's subconsciously what drives me. My dad never really told me he loved me, but I know that he did. He wasn't a real lovey-dovey guy. He was kind of a hard worker, would come home. Most of the time, he stops at the bar on the way home. So when he got home, he was already buzzed or drunk. Then he'd, eat and watch TV and go to sleep and get up and go to work again. And then he would come home a little bit drunk or buzzed, eat, go to bed, wake up, and go to work again. He was gone before we woke up, and he'd stay up till about 8 or 9 at night, and then he'd disappear, go to bed, and get up and do it all over again. But he never really said, "Oh, I love you, son. Come here, son. Give me a hug, son. Oh, I'm proud of you, son." He never did that to any of us. Now, I know that he did. Like, I don't think he needed to, because I know that he did. You know what I mean?
Do you know Dr. John DeMartini? You seen his work?
Yes, of course.
I quote this almost every podcast, I think, because it's just so relevant to turning adversity into an asset. That he talks about voids create values. And if there's something that you don't have, it creates a void. It creates a value of desiring that thing. And yeah, there very well could have been some subconscious driver that's propelled you forward. And, sometimes it is a big, fuck you, dad, or do you love me now, dad? Just in the back of your brain that you don't quite realize. And I think we all have something like that going on that we're either consciously or unconsciously aware of, whether it is a parental thing or something that stems far deeper, Do you have any other sort of things like that could be affecting in a positive light your, fast trajectory? Because it's not usual for a person to do the things that you've done. That's why you're on this podcast to inspire and to share how you've been able to do these things. And hard work, intelligence, and those things will be a factor. But there'll also be, drivers that are almost innate within you that have taken you where you are today. And that's what I like to get to the bottom of.
Well, again, in my mind, guys, I have a long way to go. It's almost like, let's say, I'm going to go drive 1,000 miles. And after 25 miles, which, by the way, 25 miles is quite a long time if you're walking, isn't it? So after 25 miles, someone came up and they're like, wow, man, I can't believe you did this. How did you do this? OMG, man, what did you do? What was your mindset like? How did you get to here? I can't believe how you did this. It's so crazy that you were able to go 25 miles. It's unbelievable. Well, if they realized I was going 1,000, nobody would be telling me how great I'm doing. They'd be asking me, what's the problem? Why are you going so slow? How can we help you? What's going wrong? Why? Well, because, dude, if you're going here, you're only here. You're going here, man. You're only here. See the difference? The difference is if like people say, what motivates me? I'm not where I want to go. Like, let's say you get up in the morning, you got to take a piss, you start heading to the bathroom. Why don't you just stop halfway and piss on the floor? What motivates you to go all the way to the bathroom?
What about if you got to that billion and you didn't feel that sense of achievement that you thought you were going to feel?
Well, then I'll go spend the billion as fast as I can and see if that works.
A friend of mine has a saying that he says, what about if you climb up the ladder and realize it's propped up against the wrong wall? Something as large as that, you're kind of putting a lot of eggs in one basket, aren't you? It's like your life is dedicated to a feeling that you hope you may get. Have you ever had but you did admit that you've had that experience that you thought you'd get there when you got the million, and you get there.
Yeah, so it may happen again. But what a bummer place to be. All disappointed with $1 billion.
All right, so let's talk about the acting thing. So what drove you to want to be the actor? Because that's interesting. Because that's not necessary. Was that for the money or was that for something else?
Well, that was for fame.
Okay, so you also have that driver.
I got bit by the acting bug when I was younger. I auditioned. I was in a couple of commercials. I was in a Levi commercial. I was on a couple TV shows, just little parts and bits where I'm like, see, there I am. A couple of speaking lines. Then I auditioned for a movie, got the starring role in the movie. The producer's son got out of a drug rehab, and as a reward got my part. And I didn't realize that the producer made all the decisions. The one with the money called the shots. So he gave his kid the part. They basically wrote me a new part in the movie. And I realized, like, if you want to be the boss in this business, you got to have the money. You got to be paying for the movie. So my naive ass said, I'll be back. I'm going to go become rich real quick. And I literally left acting to go get rich so I could come back and pay for the movies to be done so I could determine who's who and what plays what.
Wow. That's exactly what I've done. And my business partner, me and Liam, my business partner, we're co-founders of the business. Liam went to drama school, became an actor. My dream when I was a kid was to be an actor. And we did the same. It was like, why don't we go out, build a business, make some money for ourselves, and then we can go and have, the fame and the fortune and the glitz and the glamour and, be on stage and be on,
The only thing cooler than a movie star is a rock star.
And we've recently just done it. So we recently just invested into a production company that's already done feature films, and this film's coming out and then we're going to be starring in them. And we did that. We made that move. So would you still get into acting now? Is that ship sailed, or would you still love to do that?
No, I say in another 2 or 3 years, I'm gonna put together a budget for a movie and try to get the best people I know and the best script I can find, and I'm going to make a movie and I'm going to put myself in it. I won't be the star because, again, I mean, who knows if I'm like really well known in 3 years, well, then maybe I would be, but more than likely I'll be a supporting role of some kind, and I will hire a star and bring in all the right people, make a real movie that goes to real theaters and the whole bit, and then let the world decide. I mean, if someone wants me in another movie, they're going to send me a script, aren't they?
So why is it you want to do that then? Because that's not about money, is it?
Well, it's because I said that when I was young, I was going to be a movie star, and I haven't finished that, and I don't like leaving things unfinished.
Okay.
When I was young, I told everyone I was going to be a movie star.
And you want to go back and told you so.
Well, when you came, like at 5, 6 years old, I knew I wanted to be a movie star. When I think I don't know if I was 4 or 6 years old. I'd have to double check. We'd have to look at the dates. But there was a movie called Animal House, and you can look up the movie Animal House. Google Animal House when it was created. It was probably 1975 or 1976 or 1973 or 1974. Alexa, when was Animal House produced?
The film National Lampoon's Animal House was released on July 28, 1978.
1978. So I was that young. Okay. I was born in 69. So I was 9 years old. Okay. And I was in Animal House. And they gave me a little role where I was a kid getting trampled by this big stampede. And literally I was down on the set and I was sitting in the chair. And because, again, the little kid's getting trampled. I was the little kid. But so I was sitting in a seat next to all the other real actors, and all these people kept staring and wanting to take pictures, and you know, they would want my autograph when I'd go over by the rope where they were all roped off, because I was allowed in because I was the little kid getting trampled on. So ever since I was a little 9-year-old kid, man, I got the bug because everybody was giving me attention and wanting my autograph and pretend they thought I was famous because I was in the movie. So I got that feeling when I was young, man, and I'm telling you, it was freaking addicting. Like, I loved it. And so then I started to audition for different TV shows and whatnot. And I got a little role on Knots Landing where I got to, you know, say a few words, and a Levi's commercial. And I was a stand-in for Jan Michael Vincent. Anybody remember that? Jan Michael Vincent. But anyway, did a lot of that extra work, just, you know, hanging around the movies, you know, and it was always, whenever I was on set, people would, you know, see me that were just regular people walking by the set, you know, and they always assumed I was an actor. I was famous. And so I always allowed them to assume that. You know, I always played the part very well. Like, I liked being famous, even though I wasn't famous. I remember one time I came out of a set on Universal's lot, and I walked out and there was a tram going by, and it was filled with like freaking 7th or 8th graders. And I was like freaking, and you know, I forget how old I was. I think I was like maybe 17, and a bunch of young girls went by and they all started screaming, dude. And I'm like, freaking, I loved it. Like, I just wanted to be famous. I craved being famous. But like I said, after I got kind of booted for the producer's son, I'm like, man, I'm just going to go get rich real quick and then come back and make my own movies. Now, again, I didn't know it was going to take as long as it's taken. And I probably could have returned a few years back. But now my life changed. You know, I have a wife, I have kids. You know, my wife is one of those that says, you know, you can be an actor, but you're not doing any makeout scenes. But how can I play a cool mofo if I'm not making out with any hotties? So that's going to cause tension.
You do some prison film or something.
No, now more than ever, I gotta find the right script to where I'm just a cool character. It'll give me a chance to display my acting abilities. And at the end of the day, I'm not that famous. Like, I'm not, in my mind, famous at all. So people are just going to be introduced to me. They're not going to be like, oh, that's the guy from social media. No, I'm not that big. So again, in 3 years, I might be. Who knows? Like, everybody knows who Gary Vee is, right? Everybody, you know who Gary Vee is?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows. Like, social media can get you somewhat famous, and I get recognized almost everywhere I go.
Of course, yeah.
You know, if I go to Italy and walk around, I bet you anything, somebody will come up and say, I love your shit. They do it all the time. So you do get recognized, but it's not real fame. I mean, real fame is Brad Pitt. Real fame is Leonardo DiCaprio, shit like that. So when I come back, I'm going to be relatively unknown, basically, but I'm going to come out with a film and I'm going to put myself in it. And I believe that if I do a good job, either I'm going to continue to get more scripts from other movie companies that want me to be in their movie because of this movie, because of my popularity, whatever. I'll have a breakout role, and then I'll spend the rest of my old ass life making movies. So
Oh, okay. So there is more to the billion then. I like it though. It's
I believe making movies will be my swan song.
nice. I'm glad. So you got money, fame, fortune, the lot. You got the whole shebang.
And then when someone says, Brad, tell me about your life, listen. And then I capped it off by being a movie star.
Yeah. And then you can say,
by the way, I always said I was. I always said I would. I told everybody when I was younger, I'm going to be a movie star. I'm going to be a movie star. I also said rich. I remember one time I told my brother, I'll be a millionaire and retired by the time I'm 35. And he said, bullshit. He said, you'll never be a millionaire. And I said, I guarantee you I'll be a millionaire. He said, you'll never be a millionaire.
It's people closest to you that say stuff like that usually, isn't it?
I know, but I love proving people wrong. Like motivation to me is being able to tell you to go eat shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like showing people that they were wrong. It's weird to call it a sickness. That's my dark side.
No,
I love doing shit people didn't think I could do.
Mm-hmm.
When people doubt me, that's when I get the strongest. That's when I get the toughest. That's when I get the best. Like doubt me and see what I can do.
I believe
that on social media you hear Dana White say, he says, bet on me. What does he say? I got the audio version. You hear you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. I think I've heard it. Yeah,
dude, it's the best. It's the best sound. I don't even know how to do it, but it's Dana White's voice, and he basically saying, bet against me. Bet against me.
Yeah,
I want to see you. Bet against me. Mm-hmm. Dude, that's me.
Well,
bet against me.
To be fair, getting kicked out at 16, you don't see that as an adversity, but and going from the oat poison to getting a job to building a multi-million-dollar business to becoming famous online, there's no reason why that trajectory is not going to continue. So unfortunately, I can't be one of your doubters. I think you'll probably make it happen. But one last question for you. Two last questions. One is, what is the best bomb anyone's ever dropped on your podcast? And that's going to be difficult, man, because I know you've had some amazing top caliber guests and a lot of ones to sift through in your mind. But what was one that really got you where you thought, that's a paradigm shift?
Dude, I've learned, I'm over 600 episodes and there's been, a million bombs dropped. It's hard to tell you which the best one. Mm-hmm. None of them right now in my mind are standing out to be like, even a standout one. So it would probably be more of a recent one than way back in the day. But I mean, again, to me, I think one of the biggest bombs that I took away on the show is if you want to raise your net worth, you got to raise your self-worth. Most people are failing because they don't think they deserve to do any better. And it's subconscious, which means below awareness. So they're not even aware of it. They're running around. They can't figure out why they can't break ceilings and they can't get ahead. And every time something starts to go right, something goes wrong. Every time I start to get a little bit ahead, I got to go a little bit behind, and it's self-sabotage and it's cyclical. And the answer is because deep down subconsciously, you don't think you deserve anymore. You subconsciously, remember that, subconsciously means you're not aware, but you subconsciously do not believe you're worth any more than you've got, which is why you can't get any more. If you want more, you've got to change your beliefs. You have to change your actions. And that's how you change your actions. You change your beliefs. And you have to start feeling like you deserve more. You know what I'm saying? You gotta raise your self-worth. You gotta raise your value, your self-value. Forget everybody else's opinion. What about yours? Like, go figure out what your opinion is. Most people don't have an opinion. They have someone else's opinion and they adopt it as their own. Go get your own opinion. Go really take some time and think about who you are and why you're not worth more. You're out there struggling, you're trying to build something and you're on your way. Great, keep going, dude. It took me a long time to do it, man. I didn't give up because I could see very clearly, hey, I'm on my way and I am on my way. But if you're one of those people out there that you've been struggling and you can't seem to make it work, I suggest you just go down and understand what I said. Your network will go up with your self-worth.
Can I drop a bomb for you? I'll drop a bomb for you.
That's a good one. That was a big one. I dropped that one, by the way.
Yeah, that is a good one. All right. Well, I really, really appreciate your time today. You've, for sure, whether you acknowledge it or not, you've turned adversity into an asset. And regardless of whether there was much adversity in your mind or not, you've definitely created some assets for yourself. I just want to let you know, Brad, that your dad does love you. Always remember that. You don't need that billion, but go fucking get the million anyway and pop that bottle of champagne that you got behind you, and I'll be rooting for you. Last question that I wanted to ask is when your embassy in America finally let me in, if I can demonstrate why I'd be a good guest, can I come on your show?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
But only if I can share one last story.
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay, when I was young, again, I don't have the perfect memory of dates, like, it was January 9th, but I was entered into a swim team called the Guppies because I had never swam, and my dad and mom, my stepmom, put me in a swim team called the Guppies. Well, that's where beginners began. So I went to my first swim meet. It's the only sporting event my dad ever went to. And he showed up, and I'm sitting there and I'm all excited because my dad's going to see me race, and I dive in and I beat the kids so badly. We're all the same age, by the way. Matter of fact, I'm a year younger. Okay. Cause I was always a year younger than my class. I was born in 1969, January of 69. So back in those days when they would handwrite the birth date on the birth certificate, you've been writing birth certificates the whole year, and you're used to writing 68, 68, 68. So when I was born, even though it was January 27, 1969, she wrote January 27, 1968, because she was in the habit of writing 68. The year just changed over. So I have a birth certificate, or my parents did, that showed 68. And then they went and had it corrected, and they gave them a new one, and it said 69, which was correct. So I was a year younger because they put me in school when I was 5 and gave them the 68 birth certificate. So I literally was in school 1 year before I should have been. So everybody else was 6, I was 5. When everybody else was 7, I was 6. So I entered the Guppy League at my level and my age, brand new, 6 years old, or 7 years old, which meant I was a year younger actually. But I beat everybody so bad at the first swap meet that the freaking referees disqualified me. They said he should not be in this league. He should be in another league. He's too fast for this league. He doesn't belong in this league. I beat him so bad, they said I was disqualified. Really?
Wow.
And my dad got pissed, yelled and screamed, told us to leave, and he never came to another sporting event ever again since then. And I was always pretty athletic and pretty good at sports. Now, I told that one time to a guy, and this guy, since has passed. He committed suicide. No one knew he was actually depressed. But anyway, he came back one day and he brought this.
Wow.
He said he wanted to correct the universe.
That's insane.
He said, dude, you deserved it. You never got it. You deserved it. So he brought me a first place trophy from the Guppy swim team.
That's all you need right there. You don't even need
this. This is the coolest shit ever. And I put it on my desk and I look at it all the time. And that, my friend, is freaking awesome. I always wanted to be a cop when I was growing up. Told this on a keynote stage one time. Mayor comes up right afterwards, makes me a cop, gives me a badge.
No.
Like, dude, listen, it's never too late. Anything is possible. If you're going through tough times, just ask yourself, are those tough times preparing you for your goals? And the answer in most cases is yes. I always say the universe weeds out the undeserving that way. Adversity is the universe, or God, depending on your beliefs, weeding out the undeserving. Don't let that shit bother you. Power through it.
Lovely. And you've just given me an extra goal now. Now I need a cop badge. I need the billion, I need the fame, the movies, but
it's not just a badge. I'm an actual police officer in a certain town in California.
Wow. Okay, that's goals.
Hey, and then again, before I die, dude, I'm gonna be a movie star too. Maybe I'll put you in it.
Definitely. All right, I'll hold you to that one. Well, thank you very much, Brad Lea. If people want to check you out, what's the best place? Where can they find you? Instagram, podcast?
Yeah, I mean, Google me. You can see all my social media at one time. It's at The Real Brad Lea, or just go to bradlea.com. It's Lea. People say, is that Leah? I say, only if you drink Tia.
And do they, I bet you people think your name's Brad Lea all the time, right?
Well, when people say, what's your name? And I say, Brad Lea, and they say, what's your last name?
That gets a bit complicated. Well, we know you as Brad Lea. So thank you very much.
They were going to call me Brock, but then I would have been Broccoli.
Bro, your dad didn't hate you that much then.
That's right.
You have definitely turned your adversity into an asset. Thank you very much. And thank you everybody for listening. It's been a pleasure, and tune in next week for another episode. Thank you very much.